Hi guys, it's Jennifer and I'm here for a reflection on the last cruise I took. So this is going to be kind of the last video in my cruise series that I have been doing for the past several months. We went on our cruise to the Baltic from July 28th, that's the day we flew out of Flagstaff, until August 10th, which is the day that we were back home. We went to Denmark and well, we had planned to stay for 2 nights in Denmark before the cruise, but it's a good thing we built in some extra days because our flight was delayed into London, and so we missed our flight, and so our first night was actually in London, and then we caught the flight to Copenhagen the next day. Then we got on the boat for 9 days, came back, had another night in Denmark, and then flew home. This is our 4th cruise. We've gone on a 5-day cruise to Mexico. We did a 7-night cruise and an 8-night cruise in the Caribbean, and then this one was a 9-day in the Baltic. So it was, you know, we've had a lot of different experiences. The previous 3 cruises were Carnival and this one was Norwegian. So what I'm going to do here is kind of give you some reflections on the boat, the whole cruise experience, and I'll be making comparisons to our experience with Carnival. And then also I had a few viewers who asked me some questions like, so how did this turn out and how did this go? So, and some unexpected things, some things I didn't think that I would talk about that I'm gonna add in. So, okay, so let's start with the boat, the Norwegian Star. First of all, it was a way smaller boat than we've ever been on before. The Carnival ships we've been on have had 4,000 passengers or more, and this one I think had 2,300 passengers. So the boat itself was smaller. It was, what I really liked about it is it didn't feel crowded. I've always felt like on Carnival boats that they feel crowded, but the boats are bigger, so I don't really know why. Maybe the space is just laid out differently or laid out better on this particular Norwegian boat we were on. It was the Norwegian Star, but it just didn't feel like we were all crammed in, you know, it just didn't feel really crowded. So even with Embarkation, we did get there about a half hour early, but it was such a smooth process. And you know, every so often I would look out our balcony, which looked over the area where people were getting onto the boat, so right where Embarkation was, and it never looked crazy, and it just never looked super busy. I don't know why that is, but it was a way smoother process than we'd been through before. And we've gone through, well, you know, I can't say. I've just been through Embarkation in Miami. So maybe it has something to do with the terminal in Miami, because the Embarkation we did when we went on the trip to Mexico, we were in San Diego, but our flight was late getting in. And so by the time we got on the ship, we were almost the last ones. I mean, seriously, there were probably 6 people getting on the boat with us. So I don't know if Embarkation was crazy on that cruise line. So, or I mean, in that terminal in San Diego. But this one in Copenhagen sure was a breeze. It was really nice. The boat itself had some really nice areas to hang out. They had lots of just different little spaces. So there was an area on the front of the boat where there was a pool and a couple of slides, water slides, and we hung out there not to lay by the pool or anything like that, but there was a bartender there who we really liked. His name was Avelino, and so we would go back there and just kind of hang out with him on, you know, different days. There was another little bar area called Gadsby's, which was just a very peaceful little sitting room place. It wasn't like a bar, and it was just really peaceful there, and so we would hang out there and talk. They had some different restaurants. We went to an Irish pub called Oceans several times, and it was included. You didn't have to pay extra. There were some restaurants where you had to pay extra. We went to what do they call those things? What do they call those things? Brazilian barbecue or something? Those ones where they keep coming around and, you know, shaving off meat and giving you different things like that. We went to one of those one night. We paid extra for that. And we also went to this restaurant called Ginza, which was an Asian restaurant. There were lots of things on the menu that you did not have to pay extra for, but there were some things that you did. So then there were some other restaurants an Italian bistro and a French restaurant and things like that. We didn't go to those. The buffet, which of course, you know, had food going all the time, was, you know, it was okay. I wouldn't say it was, oh, the most amazing food ever. But, you know, there were good things. And what I really liked about it is that it had a variety of things. And so they even had one whole section that was for people who are vegetarian, and then they had they had gluten-free options, and they had, you know, just the typical fare, but a lot of just different kinds of options for people who have different dietary needs. The regular dining rooms, there were two of them. One was called the Versailles. It was a little bit more upscale. The other one was called the Aqua Dining Room. The food was the same in both. And I liked the food in the dining rooms. I thought that it was really good. And we ended up eating more dinners in the Aqua Dining Room, mostly because we made friends with a guy who was a server there. And so he was, you know, kind of fun to hang out with. He was from Macedonia. So yeah, it was, the food was good. I wouldn't say, if you go on a luxury cruise line, you hear people just talk about, oh my gosh, the food was so amazing. And I would say this food was good. So, I never thought, ooh, there's nothing here I want to eat. I mean, there was always something that, you know, that was good to eat. And there were different locations too where you could get food. They had food out up by the pool and, you know, just different locations around the boat. All right, let's see. Okay, the entertainment on the boat. Now this, I was really pleased with the entertainment on the boat. We went on our very first Carnival cruise. They were doing things where they had real live performers. You know, they had several different guys, girls, dancers, whatever, who would do these performances. And then the next two cruises after that, they had changed kind of their style, and they did a lot of electronic background kind of visual things, and just had like two guys and two girl performers. And so we just felt like, gosh, this seems like they dumbed it down a lot. You know, the entertainment just didn't seem quite as snazzy. And the other thing that we were really kind of surprised by is we went on one cruise in January of 2013, and we went on another cruise in February of 2014, so more than a year later, different boats, and the entertainment shows were exactly the same. You would think that they would change them once a year. So anyway, Norwegian had great entertainment. They had like 8 guys, 8 girls who did different show things. They also had, when we were in Russia, they brought in a Russian folklorico group. They brought in some other people who were from Europe to come in. They weren't necessarily from the ports where we had stopped, but there was an acrobat team that did some cool stuff. And I think the Norwegian dance company employees, you know, the performers, I think they only performed three nights of a nine-day cruise. And so the others were all people that they had brought in. And so we loved the entertainment. It was really, really good. Carnival also had a comedy club on the 2 boats we had been on, and so we would go to an early performance show and then hit a later comedy show. And Norwegian didn't have this. They had 2 showings of you know, of the performances, the regular ones in the theaters, but they didn't have a comedy club. But there were all kinds of things going on all over the boat. There was karaoke in different places. They had you know, bingo going on. They had movies going on. That's all kinds of stuff. There was never a lack of things to do. Okay, let's see. I already talked about the food. Oh, okay. So here's a question that someone asked me. Oh, wait, no, before I get to this. The staterooms. Now, I noticed that the stateroom was quite a bit smaller than the rooms we had been in on Carnival. I I have to say though that the very first cruise we went on with Carnival we went on a similar, or had a similar stateroom, meaning that it was just a regular midship room with a balcony. The last two we did, we had these corner rooms with a wraparound deck, and the rooms were bigger. So it's kind of hard for me to remember just how much smaller this room was, but it seemed like it was a little bit smaller than the room we had, the regular midship with a balcony room on Carnival. The bathroom had less counter space, but it had good shelves underneath. The shower was almost double the size of the shower on the Carnival boats, and the toilet had its own little toilet closet kind of a thing, which was nice, and that was not the same of the Carnival boats. But I will tell you that our friends who were also on the boat, they had an inside stateroom, and their bathroom was totally different from ours. So they did not have a separate little closet for the toilet, and theirs was right in the same area as the shower. So they said theirs was different. So this was just our experience with a midship room that faced outwards. I thought it was nice, it was clean, there were places to put all of our things. It would have been easy to get really cluttered in there and not keep things put away, but we like to make sure that everything is put away so we can enjoy the space we have. And so we enjoyed it. The balcony seemed to be every bit as large or small as any other midship balcony room, and so yeah, that was good. Okay, so then I had some questions that some of my viewers asked me. One of them said, asked me several questions. She said, what do you wish you would have packed that you didn't? What did you pack that you didn't need? And did you have too much or too little in terms of clothing? So I actually think that I shockingly enough, planned pretty well, especially for the Baltic, which is a place that has weather that changes all the time. So it could be rainy one day, it could be hot another day, it could be that in the same day, it could be chilly. So I had packed, I think, about 9 t-shirts, just some little t-shirts, and I brought 3 lightweight sweaters, a black one, a pink one, and a white one that I could layer. I brought a couple of pairs of capris, some jeans, and a couple of short skirts that had like little shorts underneath them. And I felt like that was good. We did need to have our clothes washed partway through the trip because, we were gone for 14 days. I didn't think that I wasn't thinking ahead of time that I would have to do that because I brought enough underwear, and I didn't think that I would have a problem with re-wearing the shirts, but we actually did have a lot warmer weather than we thought, so my shirts did get sweaty and I needed to wash them. I couldn't just, if you don't get sweaty, like stuff in the winter, you can re-wear a shirt before having to wash it. We took advantage of the service on the boat and had them wash it. They had a deal for us. They said, if you give us your clothing by this date, you can have whatever you can fit into this laundry bag, you can have that washed, dried, and folded for 20 bucks. And that's what we did. So I actually think that yeah, I don't know. I guess what I would have done differently is, see, I lost weight before the trip, and so my capris were a little baggy, both pairs of them. And so I wish that I would have purchased some smaller capris, because then, you know how your pants kind of stretch out a little bit and they get loose anyway? Well, in these things, I'm like yanking them up all the time. So I wish I would have done that. I thought it would have been just fine, but yeah, I wish I would have done that. But other than that, I think I packed just the way I needed to. I'm trying to think about my shoes and all of that, and I was pretty happy with everything I brought. Yeah. I brought more jewelry than I wore. Oh, you know what's one thing I would have done? And I'm kind of noticing this today. It's humid today here, and it normally isn't humid where I live. My hair's looking all kind of weird. But I would have gotten a Brazilian blowout done on my hair, and that's it's kind of a chemical treatment to straighten your hair. I do that before I go on Caribbean cruises because it's hot and humid and my hair just does ridiculous, stupid things. Well, my hair doesn't typically get ridiculous when I'm in weather that is humid and cool. It will curl, but it doesn't frizz and do all kinds of wonky things. But the Baltic was warmer than what we had anticipated. It was warmer than it normally is at that time of year. And so my hair did all kinds of ridiculous things. And so I think that no matter what, if I go someplace where it's humid, whether it's cool or warm, I would get a Brazilian blowout. It's just a process that straightens your hair out and it stays straightened for about 5 months. And unless you don't want it to stay straight that long, and then you can start using shampoos that have phosphates in them, and that will make it come out faster. But I probably would have, that's one thing I probably would have done. I would have done that differently because then I wouldn't have just had stick straight hair. You can still bring, like I could have used a curling iron to give it, you know, a little bit of wave and things like that. But it was my hair was giving me fits on that trip. Okay. What else? Okay, so, someone else asked me about my Samsonite carry-on bag, and it's that underseater, it's a Samsonite underseater, I can't remember the whole name of it, I have a couple of videos on it, and it's a small, you guys. I said in my last video that it was a large. It's not, it's a small. It fits underneath the seat in front of you on an airplane, even in airplanes that are quite small. I have put my bag under the seat and it fits perfectly. I love it because it has a handle and it rolls and it's sturdy. And so I was specifically in the last year and a half looking for something that would be good for this trip, because I had taken a trip to Finland a few years ago, got a bag that I thought was going to be perfect, and it fell apart on me. And also didn't have wheels, and it kind of, you know, just hurt my shoulder and everything. So with all the travel and, you know, changing planes and airlines and all that kind of stuff and having to lug that thing around, it was difficult. So this bag was perfect, you guys. The only thing I would say that I would do differently with the bag is not put so much in it. I was thinking, oh, you know, like what's every possible thing I might want to do when I'm traveling on that plane. And so I had magazines and a book and an iPad and knitting and just, you know, snacks and wipes, you know, for my hands and just a ton of things. And it just made for, oh, I also had my camera in there because I don't like to pack my camera in checked luggage. So I would always keep that in there just to keep it with me. But I just think I put too much stuff in there. So when I would lean over to open it up, it was like I was having to dig underneath all of this. So in the future, I would probably just say, you know, I'm bringing magazines and my knitting, or a book and a puzzle book or something like that. Just pick a couple of things to do. Most of the time you just watch movies anyway. So yeah, I had a color book and coloring, you know, my colored pencils, and I just had too much in there. It wasn't overfilled, it just was hard to get to everything. So that would be my one thing. But that bag, love it, will continue to use it, have used it since then for some little quick overnight away from home for the weekend kind of trips, and I love that bag. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so yeah, let me talk about some other things that were surprises to me that I didn't really think about. For one thing, getting off the boat, there was no customs. Now, I guess I should have realized this, but when I've gone on Caribbean cruises, they always give you on the boat a little sheet to fill out for customs, because you are coming from outside of the United States and entering back into the United States in Miami. And so you have to go through customs when you're getting off the boat. We didn't have to do that because this was all part of the European Union. Everywhere we went was part of the European Union, and so we didn't have to go back through customs. So where we did have to go through customs was when we got back to the United States. And so, yeah, that was something that I was saying you would have to do on the last night, fill out that sheet, but we didn't fill out that sheet until we were on the plane heading back to the US. Let's see. Oh, okay, this is another thing that I really liked about Norwegian. I've always felt like on Carnival that the last day of your cruise, not the day you're coming into port, but that last day, I've always felt like you get a real strong feeling that you're being pushed out. Not that they're being mean to you or anything like that, but they're talking all day long about what you're going to be doing as you get off the boat, and what, you know, where you're going to put your luggage and how you have to do this, and then the people who are the stewards for the rooms are stacking bedding and towels and all that kind of stuff outside the doors, and so you can tell that they're getting ready to turn this ship over for a new group of people. And maybe they have to do it that way because their ships are so large. But also when you come into your room at some point on that last day, your TV will be turned on Carnival. Your TV is turned on to a channel that tells you about what you do to get off the boat. And so all day long, you're just reminded, we're leaving, somebody else is going to be in this room tomorrow night. And yeah, it's kind of a strange feeling. But I didn't feel that way on Norwegian. They never once turned on our TV and put it on some channel to tell us about what we were doing. They left a paper on the bed, just like they did every day with the Freestyle Daily that tells you all the stuff going on the boat every day. They left a thing on the bed with the paperwork, with the Freestyle Daily, with all the stuff that was going to be going on that last day. They left this thing with instructions for what's going to happen on the last day. I think somebody mentioned it on an announcement one time. And other than that, they just, you know, they got on the announcement system and said, hey, you know, we've got a whole great day of fun, so get ready. We're not going home yet. And so they were really good about just making us feel like the trip was still going on. And I was so surprised by that. I just kept expecting to see evidence that they were, you know, getting ready to shove us off the boat, and I just didn't see it. The next morning, they had a full buffet for breakfast, and there were lots of announcements the next morning because some people were getting off as early as 7:15 from the boat. So that day, it's absolutely, this is what we're doing today, we're getting off the boat. But I felt like it was so nice not to feel rushed, not to feel like the last day wasn't really a real day on the boat. So definitely was impressed with that. That's really it. The hotels we stayed in, I'll talk briefly about. We stayed in a Crown Plaza hotel in London the night that when we missed our flight. That was a nice hotel. It wasn't like a luxury hotel, but it was nice and it had good food. And we also stayed at the Marriott Copenhagen, or Copenhagen Marriott, and that was one night we stayed there. That was a really nice hotel, and we went over to Tivoli Gardens, which was right next to that, to have dinner. Food was really good there. On the way back, we stayed at a less expensive hotel, and that was the Best Western Hebron, or Hebron, don't know how to pronounce that. And that was significantly less expensive than the Marriott. We stayed at the Marriott the first night because our friends did, and on the way back we chose that other one. It was less expensive, and I'm telling you, if I had it to do again, I'd go back to the Best Western because it was right in the heart of downtown. It was equally as close to Tivoli Gardens as the Marriott was, and it was half the price of the Marriott. It was far less expensive, and they had a good breakfast that was included and all of that stuff. So I was really impressed with that, and if we happen to head back to Denmark for any reason, I will go back. Well, the Marriott's great too, but I will definitely go back to the Best Western because it was a really nice hotel, and it was very, very reasonably priced. So I think that's it, you guys. If you have more questions about my cruise that I didn't answer, go ahead and ask those questions in the space below, and if there are enough of them, if there aren't a lot of questions, then I'll just answer you back personally. But if there are enough of them, then I will do another video on this just to kind of, you know, give you some more information. But I really liked Norwegian. I really did like it. It had, let's say, it had less, would I say less to do? Less, yeah, there was less to do because it was a smaller boat. But there was always something going on, and the places where things were going on were not packed. That's what I really liked about that. In terms of the Baltic cruise as opposed to a Caribbean cruise, my friend Christy and I were talking about this. If you're a person who wants to do activity, like do, you know, go, let's do this fun thing when we're in port, and we want to do this fun thing when we're in port, don't go to the Baltic. Don't go to the Baltic, because the Baltic is not a great place for like snorkeling or going horseback riding, or, you know, riding, I don't know, horses or motorcycles or whatever, which you can do when you're in the Caribbean. They have all kinds of things. You can sightsee, or you can go do these activity kinds of things. The Baltic cruise is really about sightseeing. You are really going from place to place to learn about a location. Yeah, they have all different kinds of things that you can do in the different locations, but it's mostly about learning about these places that you've probably never been before. We spent a lot of time in museums and yeah, just touring around with our little guidebook and learning about the different places where we were. And yeah, so I would say that if you're all about let's do this fun thing and fun thing and fun thing, don't do a Baltic cruise. If you're about culture and history and learning about a new place, then you've got to go to the Baltic, because it was fascinating. Absolutely loved it, and we know for sure that we'd like to go back to Sweden and Finland. We felt like there was a lot there that we just didn't get to see. I know there's a lot in all the places we didn't get to see, but those were two places that when we left, we felt like there was more we wished we had had time to do. So, okay, this was a long video. Sorry about that. But be sure to leave those questions for me. If you have questions, and I'll do another little video to answer those. Hope you guys are doing well, and take care. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.